Hi, and welcome back to Jen's Addiction. Today I want to talk about something I'm addicted to, and that is comic books. And in today's episode, I really wanted to address the feeling that comics can evoke when you read them and when they're done well. And I am a real fan of comics. I have been for a very long time. And this particular episode, again, inspired by a little series of comics that were illustrated and written by one of my favorite artists, Adam Hughes. And that's why I picked them up out of the box. So they happen to be a Betty and Veronica comic, but it is not about Betty and Veronica. It's not about Archie comics. It's not about any of those things. It's not really even a critique of his work as a writer. If you'd like to know about the story, if you would like to hear critiques, there are those online. There is a Katie Schinkel article from 2016 in the Comics Alliance website where she does some very honest criticisms of the work and the story. So if you're more into that, that's from, again, 2016, came out right after this comic was launched. It came out July of 2016. It's a 3-part series. I would encourage you to look that up if you want to know. This is about the fact that I read this 3-part Adam Hughes story and comic, and it really kind of surprised me. So it happens again to be Betty and Veronica. And so this is the story that I'm talking about. It's a Betty and Veronica number 1 from 2016. There's number 1, there's number 2, and here is number 3. And number 3 has an alternative cover, of course, variants, right? But you could be Team Betty or Team Veronica. I do not have this cover. I will be looking for this cover now, unfortunately or fortunately. But that is the story. And so when I picked it up because it was Adam Hughes. I didn't pick it up because it was Betty and Veronica necessarily. But because I like Archie and I'm a fan of Archie, I do have some in my collection. I love Sabrina the Teenage Witch. You'll see I have a couple of Dan Parent commissioned works behind me. Those were holiday gifts from my husband of some of my favorite albums. I really love those. I've always been a big fan of Archie for a lot of reasons. It kind of got me into comic books as a kid. I love the artwork. I was drawn to that first. You really kind of get a wonderful feeling for what comics are kind of all about, I think, from an Archie comic. This is an Archie Betty and Veronica number 1. This was done by Dan DiCarlo, the classic Archie artist. I love this one. And then another example, I think that it's worth showing because it kind of relates back to what I'm going to be talking about, is another Betty and Veronica from the 1940s. This is a Betty and Veronica number 1 of that era. Beautiful colors, really vibrant. It's done on newsprint. I love newsprint on comics. I love it. It's part of, I think, the memories that I have when I think about comics. I liked the smell. I liked the feel of a comic book in my hand. I enjoyed the newsprint. I really enjoyed the colors, the artist work. It still seemed to pop off the page to me. And then as we move forward into modern times, comics become very slick. The paper is very different. Everything is enhanced or scanned in, I believe, digitally. So even if you're hand drawing comics and you're an artist putting your heart and soul into your work, sometimes, in my opinion, it can come across a little flat through a book. Somebody may argue me that that's not true. That's just my opinion. So part of what I love about Bronze Age, Silver Age, Golden Age comics, again, is that texture and feel. And it's just, I don't know, it kind of would send me off into a different time and place. So when I picked this up, again, I picked it up because it's an Adam Hughes cover. I love Adam Hughes. And I was intrigued because he did the interior work for it. And when I opened it up and started reading it, what I found was, to me, that every page was just as exciting as what I had remembered older comics to be, right? A lot of detail. I mean, you've got your story. There's nothing missing, panel for panel. I think his artwork pops. I think he tells a beautiful story. It made me want to pick up, the second one afterwards. and kind of read it, which I hadn't done in a long time. I would sort of look for art and I'd find covers that I loved, but to read one and then want to read the second one, and then I was like, okay, now I'll read the third one. I hadn't really done that in a long time. And I know this is a 2016 comic book, but I was really super surprised at how much I enjoyed just everything about it. And again, it's maybe not the greatest story. I think for Adam Hughes, he's a beautiful artist. I think the art is amazing all the way through. I think he did a great job writing a story, but it just evoked that feeling in me that I used to get when I looked at comics. Everything was done well. It didn't have to be dumbed down. It didn't have to be oversimplified. I think it translated well, and it just kind of inspired me to think about what it was I loved about comic books in the first place and what drew me in to comics and why I continued to collect them and continued to want to read them. And not every modern age comic has made me feel that way. So it really gave me hope that it can be done. I prefer a one and done story. I don't need, 10 separate issues. I don't need a long drawn out saga. I don't need 35 crossovers and 16 variant covers. If I understand that this is a very, three books, but 3 books, I think nowadays to tell a whole story is kind of small. You get your beginning, your middle, and your end. I wouldn't want to go much more than that, but his artwork is really beautiful, and I enjoyed looking at it. So I can kind of appreciate 3 books because I sort of wanted more, and that made that possible. But you can have one story. I loved picking up a comic, reading a story complete with a beginning, a middle, and an end, and then feeling like I really got something from that. And then I could go on to the next story and the next story. I just love that. I love that about comic books. And I feel that's kind of missed. And now I feel like it just is too drawn out and it takes too much time. And there's too many sub issues that you sort of lose interest. And if they aren't developed and published and told in a very efficient way, you can really start to buy a book and then not want to continue buying it because you can't keep getting it. And this just, I don't know, this just really made me miss kind of like an older school comic book, but also made me realize that in this modern age, it is possible to have a book that is beautiful, that tells a story, whether you like the story or not, but tells a story and it doesn't skip on anything interesting. So I just thought it was really beautifully done. So again, it was just kind of inspiring. It really got me thinking about the things that I love about comics. I'm sure there are books out there that you all love. I had another example I was going to share too. It happens to be Batman. Neil Adams, hello. But look at the inside. This is newsprint. And it's just everything is detailed in that story. And that's comics to me, right? I just love everything about it. So maybe you haven't picked one up in a while. Maybe you should. Plenty of comic book stores are out there selling really inexpensive Bronze Age, Silver Age books. Kind of get your hands in there, pull out some things that you find interesting, even if it's just for the artwork. But I really, really would encourage you to pick up a comic book today and find a story that you love and become a little bit addicted to it. I think it is just one of the greatest things out there, and it blends so much with art and story that it's great for everyone. And I will say on that note too, that despite the fact that Adam Hughes is known as a pinup artist, I do not think there's anything in these stories that is not age appropriate for anyone to read. So if you have kids at home who are interested in books, you're interested in yourself, you guys could probably pick them up and share and enjoy it together. So until next time, I hope you find some wonderful stories to read, find some comic books that you can become addicted to, and just, I don't know, have a little fun. Thanks. See you later.